Yo, what is up guys? And today I want to talk about why I think Conquer LILIAS is going to be better than Meteor Cowrick from the second season of the Moonlight Blessing. Now, I would say 80% of content creators actually have them on the same tier, and most of those people actually rank Meteor Cowrick above Conquer LILIAS, but I'd say the other 20%, including myself, will think that Conquer LILIAS is just a better pick than Meteor Cowrick. If you guys saw my last tier list, I had Conquer LILIAS in the S tier from the choices and Meteor Cowrick in the A tier, because I think even though Meteor Cowrick is super strong, I think Conquer LILIAS is just on a next level, and I can't actually put them in the same tier, and I'll be explaining why. Now, the first reason why I think she's better is for PvE, especially for Hall of Trials. Now, both units, Meteor Cowrick and Conquer LILIAS, you can use in a lot of areas. You can use them in Raid, you can use them in Abyss, you can also use them for Ancient Inheritance, they're very good. But Hall of Trials, Conquer LILIAS is going to be a lot more powerful than Meteor Cowrick because she has that forced dual attacks. If you actually bring a unit with Conquer LILIAS in the same format that I do, Conquer LILIAS with like a very hard-hitting carry depending on the week, like Strays, Sirmia, just anything that actually follows, the disadvantages and advantages, you will get a huge benefit because Conquer LILIAS will only be dual attacking with this unit, meaning that you put Conquer LILIAS on full speed and the unit you're bringing on full damage, and you can literally auto Hall of Trials and get to SSS pretty easily as long as you have decent gear. Also, because there are advantages and disadvantages, and Conquer LILIAS is super fast and can also hold warrior artifacts, you can actually supplement her with something like Cradle of Life. You can put her on like Champion's Trophy if you need more effectiveness. For the decreased attack weeks, you can also put her on something like Junkyard Dog for the burn, right? There's so many options that she can actually fill to actually get that debuff. The other ones you can't really fill out, you just bring a DPS unit that can actually apply that with one of their skills and use that as your carry. Meteor Cowrick's not that great in Hall of Trials, and I know people are thinking, oh, why do we need to do Hall of Trials? Like, it's not that hard. You don't really get good gear or anything, you're just getting exclusive equipments. But the thing is, if we actually look, we have so many new exclusive equipments in the game, meaning you actually need a lot of these Wisdom's Gazes now. I think about like a year or two ago, it was a good argument to say that Hall of Trials, not really an area of content you need to focus too much on because you will get everything eventually, and not a lot of these units are great. But some of these exclusive equipments are actually very powerful, and some of these actually have more than one good option, meaning you need to get more than one copy of these, right? So if we look at Cigarettes, the Sever exclusive equipment is the most powerful one. You get the increased damage for Hunt one-shot, and then you have the increased chance of bleeding for other areas of content, even for like regular Wyvern teams, right? If we even look at some other units here, such as like Charon, for example, who we see a lot of in PvP, especially in Epic 7 World Championship. He's being played, I think, once or twice, but he did very, very well. All of these are very good. Like, all three of these exclusive equipments are very powerful. It depends on whether you want to play him very slow, very fast even, or it depends on your playstyle, right? Another example would be like Kisei, right? All of these are also very good as well. The S1 exclusive equipment is very good for PvE, the S2 is very good for PvP, and the S3 is also good for PvP depending on how you want to play her. So what I'm trying to say is there are so many exclusive equipments you need now. So I think that Hall of Trials actually is an important area of content. I think maybe a year ago it wasn't as important, but now you need actually a lot of these Wisdom Gazes, and Conquer LILIAS is one of the best units for Hall of Trials, especially for people that are looking to cheese the bosses and don't want to strategize too much, because you literally just run this format and she's very good. Now, for other areas of content, Meteor Cowrick is just as good as Conquer LILIAS, but because of Hall of Trials being the only area you can get exclusive equipment now, it's going to be very important to actually have a good core roster to actually fill in for every 2 weeks to actually farm these exclusive equipments. Now, that's enough for PvE. Let's actually talk about PvP. So in Champion, or even if you're climbing to Legend, you will see a ton of Conquer LILIAS on defense, even for arena defense, even though she's not as good as she was before. Still very powerful. But you're not going to see as many Meteor Cowricks. You have one here on this page, but we had 3 Conquer LILIAS on the last page. If we keep going, right, you see another Conquer LILIAS here, another ML LILIAS here, no Meteor Cowricks. We go again, you're going to see actually none of them anywhere. But as you guys can see, as I'm like refreshing through, you're going to see way more of these Conquer LILIAS than like Meteor Cowricks. I'd say you'll probably see like 5 times more Conquer LILIAS than Meteor Cowricks on average, and that's me being generous. So for defense teams, even though they're not as important, honestly, it's still very important if you're trying to climb ranks to have a good defense team, because the more offenses you actually hit, or more teams that you actually attack, you will show up more on these refreshing pages. So if you're trying to climb ranks, I'm just wasting a lot of gold here to show you guys. If you're trying to climb ranks, it's very important to actually have a good defense team. If you're trying to get into like, Legend 1 to get the first time rewards, or even if you're trying to get to Champion for the first time to start camping here for the weekly Sky Stones, which is a very, very good way to get a lot of Sky Stones. So very important for Arena, which is very important for Sky Stones. So definitely in Arena defenses, she'll be way better. Now for Arena offenses, I think that Meteor Carrick is going to be at the same level of usefulness as Conquer Lilias. It really depends on what kind of team comp you're running, but they're very similarly strong. So I think they are even there, but for defenses, I think Conquer Lilias does have the edge. For Guild Wars, it's gonna be pretty much the same story, right? For defenses, you're gonna see Conquer Lilias way more than Meteor Carrick's, probably more so in Guild Wars defense because Guild Wars is 3v3, the dual attack from Conquer Lilias' S1 is way more powerful because you can bring just one of 2 units, and usually both of these units will be damage dealers, right? And you're going to see everywhere, if you guys play Guild Wars, you definitely know Conquer Lilias is pretty much in every single team that is in like the high end, or almost every single team, because she is just so good with hard hitting bruisers like ML Landy, APOC Ravi, right? Because yeah, Conquer Lilias' S1 is just way too powerful, and this Vigor buff is insane as well. And Conquer Lilias is like pretty hard to actually prepare for on defense because you never know what kind of Conquer Lilias you're fighting. You can fight a very fast one, you can fight a more slower one that's more bulky, you just never know what you're fighting, so it's kind of hard to actually tune your team sometimes against Conquer Lilias defenses. Now for offenses, same thing as before, Meteor Carrick and Conquer Lilias are similarly both very useful, but for defenses, trust me, Conquer Lilias will get you a lot more mystics in the long run because she's just super strong for Guild Wars because of that force dual attack while supplying Vigor buff to your team. Now gearing wise, I know a lot of people say that Meteor Carrick is a lot more easier to gear than Conquer Lilias, and while I do agree that Carrick is easier to gear for newer players, I don't think the gear difference is that high because Conquer Lilias, even though you want her to be fast, you don't actually need her to be fast. So obviously a 300 speed Conquer Lilias that's tanky is everyone's dream, but even if you have her at like 250 speed, 260 speed, you will be fine because her kit is just ridiculously broken. Her S3 is broken, her S2 is extremely powerful, and her S1 is very broken as well. One of the best S1s in the game, right? So even if you have her slower, you can compensate by making her tankier, and she will do her job just as well, if not better in some situations if she's tanky, right? Now, she's also able to be built very fast though, which is why a lot of people think that she's very hard to gear, and that's only if you're trying to play very aggressively. So Conquer Lilias fits a lot of playstyles. You can play her very aggressively, you can play her very defensively in like the bruiser team, you can play her in cleave as well, which makes her very good because she's versatile, whereas Meteor Carrick can only be played in standard. He's very bad against cleave as well, which makes it so that if you pick him sometimes, you can get punished, whereas Conquer Lilias' counters, they don't really hard counter in a sense where she's going to be useless. Conquer Lilias will always be able to do something, whereas Meteor Carrick gets hard shut down by cleave, like Peyra, Rand cleaves really shut him down with ML Rowana, Zeo cleaves can shut him down, and also Sharoon is very good into him as well because she can actually perma reset her S3, or his S3. Also very weak against openers like Faithless Lidica as well, so you have to be careful when picking him. Now Conquer Lilias does have some soft counters, right, like Ocean Breeze Luca and stuff like that, and even like Benamaru, but you can always play around that for the most part and just use her S1, and then use your S3 and S2 when you see fit. Whereas Meteor Carrick is very reliant on actually getting his S3 off, his non-attack skill, because this increased attack and immunity is pretty much the biggest reason why you bring him into any PvP match. Yeah, I think Conquer Lilias is going to be just overall better for a lot of players because she's way more flexible. Meteor Carrick, although he does seem very tempting because you don't really need him to be super fast, keep in mind that even if you don't have your Conquer Lilias fast either, she's still very good. Very flexible, which is the biggest reason why I like her, especially for PvP. And in PvE, like I mentioned, you're going to be able to use her in so many more areas of content. Also, Meteor Carrick is going to only be used on Warhorn, which is going to be his best artifact by far. As you see from usage statistics, it'll be probably Meteor Carrick at number 1, right? Yeah, by far. But Conquer Lilias, as you guys saw, can use it as well. She can also be used on like Proof of Valor. You can use her on something like, there's so many options actually. You can use her something like the warrior artifact, like border coin and stuff like that. You can also use her on a 4-star artifact, which is going to be from one of the side stories if I can actually find it here. It's going to be the music box, which will make sure you actually get a buff at the end of every turn, which is very good because she cycles very fast, and it's probably one of her best artifacts, if not her best. I just have mine on proof for Guild Wars. So yeah, like I said, a lot of ways to build Concrulius. Meteor Carrick, also you can build him, I guess, like on a counter set if you want, and you can build him, at different speeds. But I think for playstyles, Concrulius can be used in so many more playstyles, which is why I think she is a tier above Meteor Carrick. Now, it's just my opinion though. You guys are allowed to disagree, it doesn't really matter. But for me, from what I've experienced and from what I see a lot, even looking at Epic 7 World Championship, right, you're going to notice just from a PvP aspect, Concrulius seems way more impressive than Meteor Carrick, even though Meteor Carrick's very good. And looking at the game from a PvE standpoint, Concrulius will also be better. So it's kind of hard to put me in the same tier. I think maybe S tier being Concrulius and A tier being Meteor Carrick is a little harsh. I think maybe Concrulius is the top of S tier, Meteor Carrick's like the middle or bottom. But I don't think they are, at the same strength level. I think you definitely want to make sure you pick Concrulius if you haven't yet. But even if you pick Meteor Carrick, you're not really losing out on too much because he's still a very good unit as well. Yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say for this video, just because, there's a lot of debate going on. People were saying in my last tier list that, Meteor Carrick is better than Concrulius, or they are on the same level, but I would kind of have to disagree with it because, yeah, I really realized, especially with the Holo Trials thing, that you need so many of the currency to actually farm every exclusive equipment, and even for PvP, right, like, yeah, I think Concrulius is just going to be better overall. So yeah, let me know in the comments down below what you guys actually think. If you guys did end up choosing Meteor Carrick, it's fine. He's still extremely powerful. Like, he's overpowered for sure. It's just that I think Concrulius has a little bit more of an overpowered kit than Meteor Carrick, because Concrulius does things that no other unit can with the Vigor buff, whereas Meteor Carrick, even though he's an extremely good cleanser, you can use another unit to cleanse if you're looking for a good cleansing unit, such as like Destina. Even Ocean Breeze Luca is very good, probably one of the best cleansers in the game right now, if not the best. And there's just so many other options you can use as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video though, guys. If you guys disagree with anything I said, let me know in the comments down below, because I'm always curious about what you guys are thinking. But for me, I just think that Concrulius is just better than Meteor Carrick. And I kind of made this video because I saw in YDCB's tier list actually talking about it on his stream, and kind of made me realize that a lot of people, especially in Twitch chat, didn't really agree with what I said. So yeah, just decided to make this video for you guys. So as always, hopefully you guys get your Moonlight Blessing done and have fun with whatever unit you choose. And if you guys have both of these units, make sure you guys check out my tier list for the Moonlight Blessing to see what other units are good.